2019 시즌을 누구보다 먼저 준비하는 내 팀. LCK의 자존심을 지켜라. MVP와 BBQ 올리버스. 제2의 그리핀을 꿈꾸는 담원 게이밍과 팀 배틀 코믹스. LCK 진출권은 단 2장. 누구보다 찬란한 봄을 맞이할 팀은 과연 어디인가? 2019 리그 오브 레전드 챔피언스 코리아 스프링 승강전.
Welcome back, fans of League of Legends. We're here at SPO TV, the Nexon Arena, to bring you the losers match of the promotion series to decide which of these teams is going to go down into challengers between MVP and BBQ. There can only be one that stays alive to go to the final match up against Battle Comics tomorrow. We're going to find out how it goes down today.
Isn't it a bit ominous, though, Valdez, that one of those losers, the team that goes down, will be an LCK team, will be a team that's been in the LCK for 2.5 years. I casted that tournament 2.5 years ago. It's been a pretty confident entrance since then, but you can see the three teams here. Battle Comics will be playing the winner of today's match. That means that no one is guaranteed to be an LCK after today, but one team is guaranteed to be out.
Yeah, it's kind of a rough feel. You know, these two teams have been around for quite a while, making it up together through the promotion tournament. And it's a weird feeling, but the two of them could be going down out of the promotion tournament together. First, we'll have to wait and see tomorrow how that is going to go down. Today, it's going to be me, Valdez, with Papa Smithy, as always, of course. Only 2 more days left here at SPO TV as well. Things are definitely winding down in the 2018 LCK season here, Papa.
I'm going to miss Korean League of Legends for the year, that's for sure. There will be Korean teams playing, but probably not too many Korean teams playing Korean teams until we get a little bit further in Worlds. Probably at least 1 quarter and semi, regardless of what you feel about the regional beef. But all we can really say is it's a couple of best of 5s. We'll see how they go. MVP and BBQ, and again, you kind of forget that BBQ Olivers were ESC Ever, the team that was so hyped when they went over and won IEM. They went over and beat TSM over at the Katowice tournament the next year. Ever since they took on the BBQ name, which is a pretty big honor. BBQ Olivers are that really prominent org here in Korea. The results have never followed. They invested pretty heavily in some players this year. That didn't work either. There's talent on the roster, but they still come into this best of 5, in my estimation, pretty big underdogs against MVP, although we kind of need to see game 1 to know if MVP shows up, because we didn't really see them a few days ago.
Yeah, that wasn't the MVP that I really knew. Going up against Battle Comics, they got pretty destroyed in that matchup. So Battle Comics did take them out. BBQ looked a lot better up against Dom1, but I would also mark that up to Dom1 being a little bit nervous in the first game, whereas BBQ had the lead. They could not close it out, and we did have the 2-2-0s of challenger teams over LCK teams. Generally, if it were, you know, LCK teams over challenger teams, we would say these 2 LCK teams are probably just going to make it back into LCK. Shouldn't be too much of a problem, but now we have this kind of inverse situation where the 2 challenger teams won, and then we're like, does this really mean that potentially MVP and BBQ are going to go out together? It's kind of a weird feel here in promotions.
I think you have to show something today. Battle Comics have looked good in their wins, but in their 3 losses, they seem to kind of fold like a pack of cards a little bit. So theoretically, if one team comes in strong today, that momentum might mean something tomorrow. It's not a weighted double elimination, so it will be just a pure best of 5, not like the LPL playoffs where you start with a game victory or anything. A best of 5 today, the winner faces Battle Comics in a best of 5. Need to win twice to make it through, and thus MVP and BBQ, they just need those first wins that have eluded both of them in the regular season of LCK Summer.
Yeah, they got to show something today. We'll see which one of these teams comes out ahead to start off. But let's take a look at some trivia. The first ever losers match between LCK teams after the introduction of double elimination format in promotion.
That's very wordy, but what you guys need to know is the only time there's been 2 teams promoted out of the 4 teams, that was back in 2016 Summer Promotion. Those 2 teams were MVP and ESC Ever, now BBQ Olivers. That was only just matches. That was the one where At the time, Sonic Boom actually chose the stronger team and lost 3-0, and I was like, well, that was a bit of a bad decision.
Yeah.
In that time, there wasn't double elimination. They changed the format come 2017, and since then, one LCK team has always been promoted back. We'll see if that trend ends this year, ends today. One of these teams would love to be in that Riot LCK in 2019 over in the cool new stadium in Jeonggak. We're still in the Nexon Arena. We're still SPO TV. But today and tomorrow, well, actually the SPO TV era will end tomorrow, just like the OGN era ended with the LCK Summer Final.
Yeah, at least for League of Legends, that is the case. We'll see how the future does come along for those two organizations. But guys, we are going to introduce our teams to start off. Should be names that you're very comfortable and familiar with. MVP over here, ADD Yondu, Ian, Pilot, and Max. Pilot has been trying to pilot the ship for quite a while now, even through their 9-game losing streak, I believe it is, 8 or 9 best of 3s. So he's trying really hard. The rest of his team, I would say, has to come alongside him.
Definitely MVP really had some poor performances a few days ago. I thought they'd rampage through this tournament. They did in spring, but we did not see that level of performance from them. They'll want to chalk it to a mulligan, but unfortunately, you don't get 9 mulligans in a row, and they've lost 9 best of 3s in a row. So I guess they can throw that out and say, well, they weren't best of 5s today. It is a best of 5.
Yeah.
And we'll see if MVP can perform better. They're still smiling. Yondu still has his hair, so there's a few things going for them. But ADD, who looked pretty crestfallen after that loss a few days ago, will want to find a better performance. He's still top 20 in Challenger. This team still does have good players and a decent fan base. But the MVP name, a very long-standing name in League of Legends, could end when it comes to LCK era today.
You mentioned how there are some good players on the side of MVP. I would argue, we were talking about this before, BBQ, they have a bunch of great players, right? Trick and Ignar going into Worlds. Tempt as well, definitely showing up as one of the very good mid laners. I wouldn't say top in LCK, but at least one of the better ones we do have. Ghost and Crazy still struggling a little bit, but they definitely have some talent in the lineup at least.
At the end of the day, there are good players here. I think all of them could find a spot either on a sub-roster or a main roster in the LCK, but actually putting that together into a successful working relationship, which is what a professional team needs to be, seems to have eluded them, especially for summer season. We lost Kongdu. This traditionally is that team at the bottom. At the start of the year, I never would have thought it would be BBQ Olivers, but very quickly in summer, it was cemented. They were going to be struggling at best. The struggles have been long-standing. We'll see if they can find a best-of-5 victory today to give themselves a chance. But right now, if the betting market's open, it would be that BBQ Olivers will be the first team going to Challenger.
That's one angry chicken, or rooster, I guess. But either way, they would desperately like a win. Going 2-16 is not a good mark on your record. And also, we did have that trivia point that it's usually, since 2017, the 9th place team from LCK makes it through, and then the 10th place team goes down. And currently, MVP was in 9th, BBQ was in 10th. We'll see if that does repeat itself here. Max, bring me the Scion support.
Yeah.
I like it too. I like this guy's style.
Quadra kill Scion support. Good times would roll if that was to happen. I'd be up for some Scion. MVP, dial it back. Where's my Syndra Scion Rek'Sai comp?
Yeah.
That's what got them to Rift Rivals. What a fall, right? Rift Rivals to potentially relegation in just over a year and a half.
Yeah. See if it happens. Looking for the Bard here. Is this friendly fan?
Oh, but Key's not playing today, and Key was,
Max
of course,
is playing.
the ESC Ever support way back when, now on Hanwha Life Esports. Ignar, I'd be down for the Bard. A magical journey would be something we would appreciate today in this losers match. The best of 5 is the new part, guys. It was a best of 3 last season. It is a best of 5 now. Let's get it rolling, Valdez.
Ready to jump into game number 1, pick ban. Of course, BBQ on blue, or red rather. They did choose that one. MVP starts on blue.
Well, we're wondering about what traditions will extend to the Riot era, and I hope calling this the losers match is something that will continue. Very, very Korean choice.
Aww.
The losers match here between MVP and BBQ, best of 5 on patch 8.17 Only one champion is disabled, is the Nunu and Willem. Unfortunately, they may be having a lot of fun in that champion trailer, but no fun to be had on the Rift from them.
It's pretty fun in ARAM, too. You just run it down the mid one lane with your giant AP snowball.
Well, Ignar's just taken 3 bans, so I hope he doesn't run it down mid, because he loves to play his playmaking. 3 bans now. A lot of respect for Ignar, the playmaker du jour from BBQ.
Whoa. Never heard that word in my life before. What does it mean, Papa?
Du jour means of the day.
Oh, okay. Du jour?
Yeah, du jour.
Okay. I'll practice that. I know you're the French master of this cast. But, yeah, thinking about some picks here. It's not going to be Ivern. Would be surprised to see Orin as well.
The Varus would make a lot of
sticks
sense.
out.
We've seen so many Varus bans this week. Is this our first Varus? It might be. I feel like it's been banned every game of this tournament.
Maybe.
So Varus is there, but Ashe is there to answer it. So we're going back to old meta now. Engage supports. That usually means that we can get some damage dealers on the top side, so that will be welcomed. We didn't mention this in the of the 4 points, but the other big thing to remember is that MVP always beats BBQ. Even back in the day when it was the promotion tournament, everyone hyped about ESC ever finally making it to the LCK. They lost to MVP in the grand finals of that challenger final as well. So traditionally, it's been heavily favored MVP. BBQ Oliver's, I'm a big fan of this draft, and here's what I'll say. BBQ Oliver's biggest weakness has been closing games. Sometimes they get run over because the enemy team's better, that happens. But when they're winning, they haven't been able to close games. One good way to close games is to get a lot of engage and fight. If everyone has an initiating ability, someone will use their ultimate, and that will start a fight. So I'm a big fan of starting off with Ashe Arrow and also the Sejuani ultimate, because that is the sort of thing that allows you to finish games. The same reason that Malphite and Amumu were the silver gods back in the day, because fighting and starting a fight is not always the easiest thing.
Unfortunately for them, with all the engage they pick up, they're going against the anti-engage champion in the Tom Kench that was hovered by Trick there for a moment, trying to say, hey, I know you're probably going to pick this. We don't care. We want Sejuani instead. They pick up Braum as well. Ashe Braum, good in the bottom side. That's a cute little Ignar.
As a side point, and there is, of course, a photo of Ignar as well, have you noticed that Skarner's picture kind of looks like he's hugging someone? I realize
yeah.
He's supposed to be threatening, but I choose to think he's looking for hugs. I hear that hidden passive where he talks about Skarner and being the last of his kind. But it is a good pick for Yondu. He has shown a bit of aggression. I think Skarner has been a bit unexplored in recent times, so cool to see him on the Rift. This matchup doesn't do so well for the Skarner around a Drake or a Baron, because Sejuani just ults him and then smites away the objective, but in other cases can be a nice moment for the Skarner. Speaking of nice moments, we mentioned damage dealers on the top side, and we now have GP and Darius banned out. In the second round, we're running out of top lane carries, especially before things like Fiora buffs come in future patches.
How about the battle of the Camille's in the top lane?
Yeah.
Both of them infamous in recent times. Crazy, of course, inting by himself. ADD had a rough time in the matchup up against Battle Comics on the Camille.
Gnar is open and might be consistent. Gnar, Camille, Cannon is up. These are not normally seen recently with more damage dealer AD carries rather than the utility ones like Ashe and Varus. Irelia are going to be banned as well. Where will the blind pick come in? Will it be a mid lane blind pick or a top lane blind pick for BBQ? I think Tempt is usually the person you want to give the last pick, but sometimes he just says screw it and picks Azir. Azir is open, but he's going to hold on to his mid lane pick for a while if they just go for the tried and true Ornn.
Does get interesting if they go for the Ornn. You're getting a third tank, basically. So they're going to swap it right at the last second over to Temp's Azir.
That's what I was talking about. Give me the
There you
Azir.
go.
Give me a man who can engage and can also go for some team fight. So BBQ say, we're not going for any tricky comps. We're going for all-in engage. Fan of that one. MVP have plenty of engage themselves. How about more? What happens when 10 engaged champions hit the Rift? We'll find out, hopefully.
I like that. I like that idea,
Wait.
at least. Vel'Koz.
He doesn't really engage, but it is a good matchup into the Azir.
He does damage.
True, and it's the
That's
matchup.
something I know.
He also sees the Emperor's Divide and says, I'm going to ult you now, and doesn't get disengaged by it. So definitely the sort of matchup where if Tempto engages, goes all in, you can actually find a good lane against the Vel'Koz, but previous to that, you get poked out. We'll see if it's the Glacial Augment Vel'Koz that's been played around the world. Cool. From over in the LPL was the first one I saw do it, and they saw the Orin flashed, and they say, we also need a lot of initiation. I'm a big fan of Orin Skarner because it creates general disarray for the right suppression to be applied by the Skarner. And now we just want to see the final pick here from BBQ. Here's always a question that the answer's been no to a lot in the second round robin, but yes to in the first round robin. Is it safe to play the Mundo?
Up against the Orin, I suppose so. You've got to wait a little bit. Obviously, Skarner early game, especially after 6, can have some, good ganks up in the top side, especially if Crazy does push in with all of the CC that Orin has alongside all of the CC that the Skarner has. You can definitely put 2 and 2 together, or just 1 and 1 together for the 2-on-1 gank in the top side. But still, you look at the side of BBQ, you were talking about it before, the Ash Arrow, Sejuani, they have a couple of their own tools to make these fights happen.
Very difficult for this game to be stalled too much just because there's so many ultimates that one missing due to a misexecution should just be the invitation for the enemy team to throw 3 back. So hopefully, once the early farming is over, there could be a lot of action. Excited about how this one can go. Both junglers have had better days than their matches against Battle Comics and also Dumb1 Gaming. Yondu especially. We kind of need to send out an RSVP and hope to see the return of the guy who looked so promising when he first came into the LCK.
Yeah, definitely had a bit of a struggling time here when we saw him going up against Battle Comics, but hoping that that all changes around. He's up against Trick this time on Fleek. We were talking about him from Battle Comics, second on the ladder right now in Challenger. Definitely one of the up-and-coming top junglers here in Korea. Maybe he'll have a little bit of an easier time against Trick's more passive Sejuani on his own Skarner.
Feels like MVP with 1 or 2 items will have the lead, but great options for BBQ with that Mundo scaling. Let's just load into it. Could be a short series, could be a really long one. You never know with MVP and BBQ.
Should be a fun one regardless. Let's jump into game number 1, MVP versus BBQ. Never mind.
Put that water bottle away. No, you poured it all over your iPad.
I know. Oh, no.
You can't see your notes.
And this is how we begin the podcast. No, it looks like we have a pause, guys. Not sure what the reasoning is. Tempt is really frustrated.
He was going to get to play Azir. It gets banned against him a lot, so I'm sure he was really hyped to finally play some Azir. But the Azir will be averted for now. Been a fun morning. Tracking the pros is suddenly popping off on Twitch.
Yeah, I love this time of year, man.
You know, it kind of feels like if you're a League of Legends caster, the Christmas, because
yes,
Christmas season's here. Tracking the pros has more than 1,000 viewers. That means people are here. Always really fun.
So the white noise was too loud for someone. Who's the culprit?
It's something that can be tweaked. So we do invite you to multi-Twitch and bring out the Tracking the Pros and also the LCK Promotion tournament. Especially now, while we're in the pause.
It's just so much fun, you get everybody together. It's like holiday season, right? The whole family's back together. All the best players from around the world playing League of Legends for you every single day on Twitch.
But they always come to Korea because of Korean solo queue, but now everyone has to come. So we actually have everyone coming, which means it's a real family reunion. Turns out the great aunts and uncles made it this year. Everyone is around. You get those fun moments where ambition doesn't carry Sneaky to a victory, and you just have all those things, the sentences that sound like just people being hopeful for a game that would never happen just become reality. Was watching KT have a lot of fun. Turns out Score is training his Camille, maybe inspired by OnFleek, being on point with that in earlier days.
Hey, you get a couple early ganks. Things are going to go well for you on Jungle Camille. But I was watching a game. There were 6 Afrika Freaks players in the same game. I don't even know how that's possible.
I mean, usually there's 10 because they just play internal scrims all the time.
But this was just solo queue. There were 5 of them on the same team. I think it was like Summit and Jelly were in there as well, some of the subs. And then on the other team, there was 1. I think it was only Tucson on the other team, which is really sad for him, playing with 4 randos. against, you know, a big combination of his entire team.
But, you know, don't you have that feeling where, you know, on Tracking the Pros where you vote for which game you want to watch?
Yeah.
If it's like 19 minutes in and it's like super stacked team versus no team, the super stacked team almost always loses. That's what I find. They almost always lose. If you get 3 or 4 KT members in the same team, they lose. I assume it's just, you know, everyone's having a fun
too
time.
much fun.
Yeah. Flaming each other on comms. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
But, yep, Tracking the Pro is going to be fun. We're going to need something, right? After tomorrow, there's going to be no other Korean League of Legends professional play to watch.
You know what the other really fun part is? Seeing the, you know, the big streamers that are on big teams at the same time. So, like, Sneaky comes over, Double Lift, right? And they're all playing, and they're playing with Koreans that like to interact with him with their not so great English, but it's always so much fun.
Did you say interact or interact?
Int.
Okay, that's interesting.
No, just int.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, you get a bunch of really fun stuff that happens. You know, Koreans trolling them, or you know, just interacting with random D1 players.
I am
your
fan. I am your big fan. Always really fun with that. Well, it's always a fun season here, so enjoying that. But we're going to have to interrupt the fun because I hear there might be an interactive game to be played.
Oh, okay. Should be pretty interesting. I would have to agree.
It's an intriguing one between BBQ and MVP. Nice to have the fan bases here interacting with us compared to Battle Comics and also Down One Gaming. They had a lot of kinks to work out when it comes to some of those fan chants. I'm a fan of Tempt, who's gone for the Easy Hoon skin, rocking the SKT Azir.
You know, he's just trying to make it back into the LCK, where SKT has been for quite a long time. I know there were some people making jokes, poking fun at SKT, saying with all these new challenger teams making it up, how long is SKT going to last? Well, SKT's holding tryouts. They're looking for new players, and I'm going to hold that thought as Pilot and Max might get something going here. Actually, no, never mind.
Yeah, level 1, actually, there's not as much threat as you might imagine. Being the second brush usually heralds an all-in, but not going to be seeing it that time. They had the river brush to know exactly where Ashe and Braum were. Still, everyone backs away. We got double unsealed spellbook supports. This seems to be a new thing, as we're seeing teleport carries. That, of course, has been in and out after the latest teleport nerf. We assume that with the heal being 30-second cooldown less, this, of course, the first tournament where that has been in effect. We'll be seeing a lot more of it, and we are just a little bit against expectation. It is going to be the supports rocking it, the AD carries getting everything. Turns out that you can try to nerf AD carries or tweak them, but they always want everything.
They'll never disappear. They'll always make it back. They have too much history in League of Legends.
You know what tilts me the most?
Yeah? What's that?
The AD carry players who are like, all right, new Essence Reaver sucks. Give us back the old Essence Reaver unchanged. And it's like, yeah, I agree. The new Essence Reaver doesn't really fit many champions. I like the idea, but the actual implementation doesn't work. Can you imagine how broken AD carry would be if Essence Reaver was there as well? They already get so much stuff with Storm Razor and IE being cheaper and Zeal items being cheaper. Essence Reaver into a cheaper Zeal item would be bonkers power spike with the IE changes. But nope, gotta have all of them. Please give us everything. Just too greedy, Valdez.
Some roles are just greedier than others. That's just the way it is, right? That's
They've
just
always
science.
had a support, you know? They've always had a butler their whole life. How can we be surprised when, in normal life, things are a bit different?
They've just been served hand over foot everything that they want in the lane. It's just not fair.
Could you bring my heal, please? I need my heal.
Yeah. I'm going to bring teleport so I can get my items faster, but you're going to bring my heal. You don't get to have any extra summoners of your own. That's actually mine. You got to heal me. I'm just used to playing in the mid lane where it's all your fault if you lose, and it's only a one-on-one. The true hardcore of League of Legends.
Full disclosure, neither of us are AD carry mains. Can you tell?
Nobody could tell, of course. I'm not friends with any people who are AD carry mains.
Whoa!
It's actually true.
Is that your dating profile as well?
Yeah,
no ADC mains.
No ADC mains, sorry. A bunch of bad experiences. I just kind of given up on that sector.
I just play Orianna a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, nobody saw the 5 other games of Orianna that you played where you carried me pretty hard. So
I won that game as well.
Only the game where you did the zoning ult really hard is going to go down in history. All the other ones will be just forgotten.
I won that game. I actually played good.
But only that ult will be remembered. Sorry, Papa.
No.
Should I release the replay of the entire game?
No, it's top secret.
Okay, I'll hold that.
Top men will hold on to it, don't worry. Top men.
Top men.
Speaking of top men,
okay.
here's Yondu rolling through the mid lane.
Oh, back to the game. Are we do we have to talk about the game? Okay, here comes Yondu. He's got Predator, but it's his ear.
He no longer has Predator.
Yeah. Well, at least he got the E out of his ear. I mean, that's something.
He got us to talk about the game.
That's a cool down.
3-5 minutes. That was pretty good.
He's trying, you know. Yondu is doing a little bit of the meditation, you see, from some of the players we have. Crown, very notably, one of our guys who likes to take a little nap, as the Twitch chat calls it, before the games start.
I'd say Crown is probably the most prominent power napper, in my recollection at least.
I think so.
I feel like if he's on screen pre-game, it's 85 to 90% power napping. One time he wasn't, and that was actually eerie. It was a bit conspicuous that time. But we're just farming out here. Level 6s are needed for most of the engage, but maybe Trick can find something. Don't really know what a successful gank looks like by Sejuani into this Tahm Kench Varus, but I guess getting a summoner would be something. Maybe even Max's heal. I'm sorry, Pilot's heal via Max.
Yeah, no, it's Max doesn't actually get a summoner. He just gets extra summoners for Pilot. That's the way it works. There were a couple of wards that did spot Trick coming all the way down, so actually a wasted ward here by Tempt. Looking for the knock-up, but Tempt is quick on the E. He's gonna hop away.
Has there ever been a meta where AD carries got more from others? Because if you think about it, we get Zeke's Convergence junglers, Knight's Vow junglers, support Spy, and take Unsealed Spellbook for more for the AD carry. I guess the mid lane meta's not quite Karma Orianna, so we're not quite 100% there.
Yeah.
But Azir usually stands next to his AD carry if he's not going all in for an engage. So we're pretty close, you know? We're pretty close to critical mass. Every time a new utility item comes out, the AD carry is like, oh, a different unique thing that can be applied to me.
Yeah. I mean, Ardent Sensor meta was pretty famous for just AD carries are the bomb, and you're only going to pick people that can give shields and get you Ardent Sensor onto your AD carry so that he can carry. Mid laners, of course, as you mentioned, Orianna, Karma, Lulu. That's just about it. What happened to AP Janna in the mid lane? You remember that?
It got nerfed pretty significantly. She had bonkers AP ratios back in the day.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of different tweaks. Remember, she used to get global movement speed, not just proximity movement speed. So your jungler was like, just pick Janna, please.
And Zillion was global experience.
That was back. I remember. I actually
so broken.
Most people don't know, but I used to be a pro, and again, I use pro
Quote-unquote
very lightly.
pro.
I'm actually.
Yeah.
You can actually see I'm doing the inverted commas
Yeah.
out loud. Pro player. Back in those days, it was kind of the Season 2 meta, so it was just tank junglers like Udyr, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't play Udyr unless you were able to first pick Janna, because the movement speed was so useful for you to actually be able to close distance. Kind of crazy that a support champion was required for a jungle pick. Infernal Drake's
They're just
gonna be
starting it
started. Azir has full mana, so this is not actually on a recall. This is risky stuff. Let's see what happens.
At the end of the day, though, BBQ say, fine, you can have it. I guess they saw the Ornn going down with teleport advantage, no teleport on Crazy. They say, no, we can't force a fight here. Very passive. It kind of looks like they just give it away, but it definitely could have gone wrong. And it may have been the higher percentage play to just let MVP have it in that case.
It's one of those situations also where we mentioned in Champ Select, the one-item power spikes are on the side of MVP. The Ash Arrow, I'm not even sure if he was level 6 at the time, and Minuet was pushing in. Uh-oh. Well, okay. The Ash Arrow, let's assume it hasn't been skilled up. We don't want to talk about that one. But anyway.
Why? Why pick Ash if that's what's going to happen?
What was worse, my Orianna ultimate or that Ash Arrow?
I mean, we talked about it before. Ghost hasn't had the most storied career here in LCK. Ignar just kind of face-palming as that just sails wide into the next game of League of Legends.
Someone in a different solo queue game got hit by that, and they're very
know.
mad.
I don't know what to say, guys. I just could not hold back my frustration. But, you know, he's working on it.
I feel like you're in a great headspace for this best of 5 losers match.
You can tell I prepared very well for this one. Yeah, maybe next time. I mean, you know, he's going to have his cooldown back
You miss
eventually.
every Ashe arrow you don't go for, so
Yeah,
why not get
Wayne
the kinks
Gretzky,
out of the
right?
way on the first one?
Wayne Gretzky.
Exactly. I know who Wayne Gretzky is. He's the only hockey player I could name.
That's the only hockey player that anybody knows in the world. But I feel like everybody knows him and everybody knows that quote. So that's at least a good thing for hockey, right?
Now I kind of feel like naming names I think are hockey players.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Is Mario Lemieux a hockey player?
Yeah, Lemieux, yeah. I mean, maybe you were saying it correctly
Yeah,
in
okay.
French.
But we got the right person, right?
Yeah, he's the guy. Yep.
There was a Patrick or a P name also that around the same time was a big player whose name I forget the last name of. That's all I got. I'm out of hockey players.
Is that it? What about...
Wayne Gretzky was really famous.
He was.
He had a Nintendo 64 game.
I know. Maybe that's the only reason why you know.
You know, it's probably actually up there for reasons that I know. I am Iron Tier in my knowledge of hockey. I would say I'm still Wood 5 for League of Legends.
Do you know any of the recent famous hockey players? I suppose not, if you don't pay attention at all.
No.
Do you know Crosby?
No.
No? Okay. Wow.
I'm sorry.
Ovechkin?
Nope.
No? Okay, you like really just don't even pay attention
The
to sports.
90s was my hockey
You can like
time.
go on ESPN.com and they'll be up there like every once in a while.
I'm sorry, but they only have LeBron James up there. Let's be real.
Well, yeah, that's true. You know what that is? Biased reporting.
Well, we
Nobody
might
pays
actually see a
attention.
kill here.
Okay, getting in on Ian. The Emperor's Divide does some damage. Yandu gonna get this impale on in. The knockup comes up, and finally, first blood at 11-11 goes over to Ian on the Velcom.
Binary time, but big result for MVP. They want that first item. They want that first item to get them going, and then they can maybe look for a Rift Herald. Nice moment in the video game. Ghost is holding on to his ultimate for a better time. He doesn't want to be involved in that particular moment, but MVP back away. And remember, let's talk about champion select. Everyone's an engaged champion, really, on both sides. So even though it begins with Temp sliding forward, that's actually a sick play onto Ian. While he doesn't go down, that ultimate's available from Yondu. They find their man, and more engaged to cement the kill.
It was definitely an interesting one in terms of the one-on-one mid lane battle, right? That's a good trade, right? You stop the Ray, you get a good chunk of damage onto Ian, but then Trick just got a little bit too close to the sun, and Yondu was right there for the counter game.
Skarner Orin is one of my favorite duos that doesn't get talked about a lot. My favorite ever was from watching Champions a long, long time ago, maybe 2013, as I'd assume nothing's going to happen here. Top lane's 2 tanks. Was actually Skarner Ziggs, because Ziggs was never really played around Ziggs' release.
Yeah.
And Ziggs would throw down the minefield, which was, I think, just higher flat damage back in the day. And then Skarner would ult someone through it, and then you couldn't walk through the minefield, so it just ended up with that person dying, right? It was like the genesis of a pick comp with just Skarner and Ziggs.
And you just hold them down so you can get that really hard-to-hit ultimate off as well.
Yep, and you'll remember, actually, there was another Skarner combo with Skarner Talia. That was a really fun one as well, that we saw Jinair playing quite a lot in spring, but that was actually a fun duo. So I guess Skarner, given his unique ability to pull people in a more reliable way than someone like a Blitzcrank, has always been involved in those duos. His Trick is laboring for this one. Crazy. He's probably going to be able to get it.
Yeah, it's only ADD here. He might even get this started onto ADD if Trick stayed around. Did have the ability to get in there. ADD is still going to be low, though. He can throw that Glacial Prison over the wall. There it is. No Arctic Assault just yet, and ADD is going to go for the flash, but one more briefcase is going to miss. The ultimate coming on in. ADD trying to survive, but no, it's not going to happen, as Crazy will take him out. They're pushing the bot side at the same time, though. Looks like they may have been a gank, and they do get that turret.
We didn't see how the bot lane play started, but it ended with first turret blood actually going to the side of MVP after all the time was wasted by Orin and the jungler topside. Pilot's here alone, but Trick has very little health.
Just gonna throw out a chain of corruption. And that's about it. Gonna snipe Trick on the backside. Tempt will back off of this, and the turret is gonna go down in the end, so they trade 1 for 1.
Mundo wanted to stick around to get some of the local experience in gold. Was able to get that, back away. Yondu's trying to take blue, so a bit of disarray. A lot of things happen. First instinct is to getting first turret blood is the advantage, you'd say, to MVP, and Pilot doesn't get taken down for a quite bold use of his teleport. Looking at CS values, we should note the bot side, which looked non-interactive outside of the one missed Ashe ultimate, is a 30-odd CS lead to the Varus. Varus always has that strong laning phase. Tahm Kench seems fine, even though this is post-nerf. Tahm Kench and MVP rocking a 1,400 gold lead, and maybe a Cloud Drake in the first 15 minutes.
Cloud Drake gonna be pretty nice, especially for the Skarner. For everybody else, just helps them get out of dodge, I would say. It's decent for the Ornn. But yeah, just a nice Drake to get them started stacking very early on. They got that Infernal incredibly early as well, so nice Drake to get on top of it. Cloud goes over. We're gonna have to take a look at what the next Drake is as well. But we're 15 minutes in. MVP and the side of Pilot specifically have been doing a nice job in getting ahead in this one. Yondu also ahead about 30 CS.
The hope here for BBQ is they have the S word, and the S word on this stream is scaling. It's been a word that I have used and criticized many, many a time. Azir Mundo up there in terms of the S word. They are super good in the late game. Do consider MVP have no Conqueror champions. Lethal Temple Varus pretty good at killing Mundo, but it takes enough time where if Mundo hits 3-4 items, he's going to have a really fun time running at Ian and Pilot. So there is definitely the 4-5 item win condition for BBQ, but already MVP have been pretty good and pretty liberal about using their engage. Whenever they feel their item timings are stronger, which one item was a time we diagnosed as being so, they can really get frisky. So MVP, they want to continue to find high tempo plays. We're talking a lot about high tempo and low tempo in the common vernacular, low tempo being a synonym for bad. The high tempo plays here are looking like they're going to be very possible for MVP, and they want to keep them rolling in the next 10 minutes.
And they have a lot of their cooldowns right now. Speaking of which, the Skarner is going to face check the Sejuani, but it's a bit stronger right now as everybody's rotating to the top lane. Actually, Tempt was going up there, but now Ian's coming up, and Tempt has gone back to the mid lane, so it could turn into a 4-on-3. There's the Chains of Corruption. Gonna go onto the Ashe. Everything does space, but look at that damage on the back foot from Ian. Ghost and Ignar immediately have to back away. It should be another turret in the top side.
Ignar used his Unbreakable really early, and it was the freest Chains of Corruption ever coming through for Pilot. Ian rolls over on the aforementioned one item and almost gets a double kill. That's actually a really big mistake from Ignar. He needs to be much more judicious with when he chooses to use his Unbreakable. The ult was never going to be as relevant as the Unbreakable there. They're going to lose a second turret, and MVP looking a lot more like the MVP we hoped to see a few days ago. They've got a good matchup into BBQ. Historically, BBQ have gone hard at the paint on the scaling, and I like to see MVP getting things going.
It's definitely good to see after the disappointing performance up against Battle Comics. But maybe they were just taking them lightly. Maybe Battle Comics are actually a little bit higher rated than we realized. And could be going on, but we'll have to wait and see tomorrow and wait for those games.
Look, you never want to focus on the losing team rather than celebrating the winning team. That's just standard sports, right? You want to give some fans something to cheer about, but MVP did look woeful in that series. They were playing way under the level we expected, and even the level they've shown in what was previously a 9-match losing streak. So to let you know that they look worse than that is pretty significant underperformance. Today they look a lot more motivated and on point, although this particular Abyssal Voyage isn't going to lead to a kill.
I like the proactivity at least. Nearly got on top of the Azir, and Trick's positioning was good to just discourage them from going any further, so the idea was good. Wasn't able to make a kill out of all of it, but got pretty close. Pilot here, I mentioned how he's trying to pilot the MVP ship, the MVP airplane, into LCK once again. He has the highest farm, actually really high above 10 CS a minute right now, 212. Should be up to 214 at about 1830, which is pretty insane, guys.
And Pilot was the guy who all throughout this year, after he cemented his spot in the team over Maha, one of the 5 super best friends that MVP qualified for the LCK with, he looked really good. He's had a lot of individually strong performances, kind of a Teddy in 2017 situation when it comes to just how often he was popping off in spite of his team struggling. So Pilot this game, he's got his resources, he hasn't been ganked, and thus, close to the 2 items that every on-hit Varus is looking for. Ready to pop off soon, and BBQ still waiting for that scaling.
Yondu in an awkward spot here. Could look to turn it around with an impale on Ignar, decides against it, as there were more members of BBQ there than MVP. Had the Ornn pushing in the bottom side, Crazy with a nice little roam into the mid lane, trying to catch out the Skarner in the end. Here's the Skarner again, looking for Ignar this time around. Not going to go for the flash just yet, stands beside his ally to get to safety.
But I'm waiting with bated breath for the next Ashe ultimate, Brendan. When's it going to come out? We need to see Ashe pop that big crystal arrow. For now, Ghost waiting for the precise moment.
It almost feels like after that first ultimate, he gave up. He's like, I'm going to play Ashe without a ultimate here, actually.
He could have had more points in his Q&W. Speaking of Q&W...
Here's his moment! The stun Skarner! Gonna help get the kill. Trick picks that one up as Yondu kind of greedily clearing out a ward in the enemy jungle.
Went on a solo mission, and the aforementioned arrow hits. And speaking of hitting...
the double knock up here, and the rest of BBQ gonna be routed. Everybody running away. Gonna be the turret and a kill onto Ignar as well.
This is one of those games where the Vel'Koz's damage seems to be much higher than when you or I either queue up or get to play the Vel'Koz. That was some deletion in the mid lane, not even double flat magic penetration, just the Oblivion Orb suddenly turns into a Morellonomicon. Suddenly, Crazy can't get going, get accelerated. Moments like this feel like they might be the exception as MVP start firing in the mid lane.
They do use pretty much everything, though. I mean, that's 3 ultimates from Sejuani, Azir, and Ashe, and then they come mid and kind of just stand right in front of the Vel'Koz, so...
They actually get corralled by
nice.
the Q, and then the knock-up. That actually ends up being temporary terrain that they're completely screwed over by, and the ultimate just plops them down. So creative stuff, hard to recreate, but nicely done by MVP.
Yeah, you think about Trundle when you think about pillars, but actually Ornn's got a small one of his own. He doesn't like to show it as often, but...
He's bashful, but man, when it comes out, it comes out big. 3,045 damage, largely just from the ultimate there. As Valdez seems to be really enjoying the joke.
I was really enjoying that one. That was a fun one. It's a lot of damage. Could be the Vel'Koz carry here. Looks like maybe Pilot's just going to be the CS leader, but the rest of them...
It's not the size of your pillar, it's where you position it.
Exactly, it's how you use it. And honestly, I've seen a lot worse Trundle usage in terms of pillars in that fashion.
We do have, unfortunately, the perennial struggling Yondu in this game. 0-7 on the Trundle in summer.
He's going for something a little bit easier to play. The Skarner, you know, use your ultimate and just drag him back to your team.
And the funny thing is that we do have an ease of execution draft for most of the champions here. A lot of engage, a lot of straightforward champions. That sounds like a criticism, but I am actually a true believer that in general, if there's 2 champions of the same power level and one is easier to use, 100% of the time, choose the easier to use one, because why would you add complexity if the result's the same? It's why Machine Gun Rise back in the day, we're talking about the original reworked Rise, and most of the Rises, was the way to go because it didn't have skill shots. And now he does have skill shots, but had the longer route, so you're basically guaranteed. You'd always choose that over Ahri because guess what? You're going to do the same thing every time, and that reliability allows you to make complex map movements without also thinking about skill shots. So at the end of the day, I like to see 2 teams that have been struggling to execute go for ease of execution and then try to attack maybe the root problem, which has been some poor macro on both sides.
Yeah. What is the modern version of that then? Play Skarner instead of Camille?
Ease of execution?
Like that? Yeah.
There's a really obvious one I was thinking about in a different game that I'm not thinking about right now. I guess Ornn. Ornn's really easy and really forgiving. His ultimate could miss, but it has 2 chances to do some sort of CC, so it always does something. I think Ornn is usually the one that you see when it comes to reliability. People think Cho'Gath, but Cho'Gath is a little bit more binary in lane. It might be easy in lane, but in teamfights, actually pretty hard to do anything with. The chance of Cho'Gath doing nothing compared to Ornn doing nothing is so different. So I'd probably say Ornn of top laners. I guess Skarner of the junglers. Mid lane might be a bit different. I'll have to think about that one a bit longer. Speaking of mid lane, MVP just walking up.
Yeah, just kind of walking on in, you know. BBQ a little bit out of position here. Ignar nearly gets knocked up on the backside. If that knockup was better timed, he could have lost his life. Did have flash and stem side beat, but either way, nice little chunk of damage here by MVP. They do have the lead, and they're trying to pressure here.
Malzahar for mid laners.
Yeah.
Lasanda too. Crown champions.
Yep, low key. Okay, there is the Ray straight into Ghost's face. The insta cleanse.
Okay.
Nice arrow though onto Yondu. Crazy getting into the back line, but he does save Pilot's life with the Devour. Crazy not going to be able to get that full engage as the rest of his team not there to truly follow up.
Nice Ash arrow there for the punishment, but unfortunately the timings and the general disengage on the side of MVP allows him to get out. Able to get that mid lane top, makes it a very long lane in mid lane. Haven't been impressed with the Baron control of either team. MVP in 2018 have been better. They don't go for the 50-50s anymore, which actually probably extends their game time rather than makes it shorter, because they would always accelerate their own or the enemy's demise around the Baron. But their setups have been a bit more reliable. They now have a long lane to work with in mid lane, so get a couple of control wards or an Ornn behind and start up the objective is now something available for MVP.
Yeah, the Ornn will always be fantastic at finding targets from a distance. I love him in competitive play just for forcing out pushes, because I feel like teams will be much more inclined to go for, you know, pushes straight down a lane because they always have that zoning ultimate, at least with the Ornn. Don't necessarily have to dive with that, but you can just say, hey, we're going to push your turret and you're going to be all knocked up if you engage into us, so let us take the turret and get ahead of you, essentially, is the idea.
I love to watch the best teams play something like the Jace and the teams that are struggling to play something like the Ornn. It sounds like some sort of flame, but play what you're good at. Play what you can play around. If you are a macro team that can play around priority, like a KT Rolster, please play the champions that fit that play style. But it's usually when one team goes too far either way that actually you see more of the creaks and the game quality really does suffer as a result.
Well, we got some players on the side of BBQ paying their taxes. Both of the bottom laners are going to go for that. Does mean that Ghost's build is going to be very far behind Pilot's build at this point, who is already near his third item. Ignar gets caught again here, has to flash away, as it looks like he was just clearing out a ward, but unfortunately had to use that summoner.
Dr. Mundo has a lot of farm this game. He's actually higher than Ghost in terms of farm. As MVP looking for the gank brush. Very nice ward. Don't know who put that one down. We'll say Ignar and give him the credit.
Yeah.
Nice ward there that gets you the information you need. A lot of spotting available. Notice it's double blue trinket and of course 2 hawk shot charges if Ashe uses neither of them. So they have a lot of ways to spot Baron. They also have a lot of Baron damage over the wall. So if you see MVP try the standard Ornn strategy of get the Baron to 2,500 and then fish for an Ornn ultimate, Azir and Ashe can actually pop about 1,000 damage over the wall, and then you can go for a smite steal. So it's actually very tricky against red side Azir, Ashe, and even Sejuani, who has a gap closer over the wall to take the Baron. So while MVP desperately wants it, and in every other way has a very strong Baron turn and damage team, you do have that extra worry because of what BBQ have on the red side.
Still feel like MVP might just do it.
Ghost went for the classic zoning QSS.
Yeah, I like that, you know. Occasionally you got to pull a Papa Smithy from time to time. Again, just zone out a little bit with one of your abilities or items. Did do that here.
Now, if he is the MVP of the next fight, then we can say he's playing League of Legends hard mode. Speaking of hard mode, MVP are walking up.
Yeah, trying to get some vision here. The hawk shot comes out. Seems like maybe a second charge should be coming up sometime soon. Max able to aggressively get in there, and Ignar is going to get hit by that Pelicans again. Nearly goes down. Doesn't have his flash this time, actually has Ghost heal with the unsealed spellbook, and now they'll think about this Baron.
I think he was fully researched, so he's taking true damage from the ultimate there. DPS'd him down. He doesn't have teleport, so he has to cobble his way there. So it's going to be a 4v5 around Baron. Remember what we were saying, though. It is trickier than it first appears to make this Baron play, and they do get a teleport out of Crazy.
Yeah, essentially a teleport for free here. Now they're looking for Tempt, who is going to be in an awkward spot. Change of Corruptions, actually, and the trick in the front line has nowhere to go. Going to turn here on to Crazy. Probably not the best idea, but they get the one pick on the jungler, and now they'll go for the Baron.
Credit ADD, he actually ulted Mundo because the Unbreakable was up and wasn't going to do anything on the other side. Back to the Baron we go. There's no smites here, and I don't believe Ignar has a charge to get one from the unsealed spellbook.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. They're going to zone him out anyway, just in case. Max Kind of flying close to the sun here. He's going to QSS up that stun. Ghost trying to take him out, but there's no damage on the front side of MVP. At the end of the day, no kills go in the way of MVP, and they stop that Baron. Now Max is going to get crit down by the Ash. Looks like Ghost is going to have enough damage. The Ray coming in, though, and Ian is going to take him out on the backside. Crazy does take a bit of damage on his way out, but a 1-for-1 in the trade of stopping the Baron. Not awful here for BBQ.
But with complete information, we know that finishing the Baron was definitely the right call from the side of MVP. They choose not to because they're unsure about whether Ignar has a shard or not. That's another thing you can time. I feel like with Unsealed Spellbook becoming more and more common, it needs to be something that you time. You need to at least have a rough idea. You actually have the comms, right? That does show you that the enemy and your ally changed their summoner. There was no shard. There was no way for there to be a steal from Ignar. Thus, I think finishing the Baron's the right way to go. MVP go for usually the percentage play, especially if the enemy jungler is up, and it ends up being pretty even overall.
The awkward thing is, I think you can check, right, when they
tells
change,
you.
right? But you can only do it outside of combat, right?
Yeah.
So Max was actually doing the right thing. He was keeping him in combat. I think there was a breakdown in communications because they had so much damage with Pilot and Ian this fed. They probably could have just burst down the Baron, and there was 100%. No hope. There was no hope of a smite. So
the only people
definitely the right choice.
The only people Azir could auto were the tanks. So it's not like anyone was going to die. So at the end of the day, actually that was one of the few scenarios where 9 people are near the Baron, unsealed spellbooks in the game, and yet it was correct to finish the Baron. So MVP slow down the game a little bit. Notice the gold lead isn't titanic, and Mundo's now getting towards 4 items. So while it's not true lingering doubt, I still feel like MVP will close this game. At this point, I'm not sure.
Gotta wait and see. The Vel'Koz is pretty on fleek today, 3-0-1, and has his death cap the last time he did go back. So it's going to be bursting people down, even the tanks, once he does get that true damage.
I have an update. Ghost's QSS is available.
Okay, that's important. He's going to have it, hopefully, this time for the next fight.
If Ian is in some way impeded, maybe even temp diving in needs to happen, then things will start to fall apart. Varus is strong as well, but Ian's ultimates are just making the health bars on the frontliners look silly.
Pilot was actually blocking Yondu from going forward with the Predator's Skarner. There weren't many targets there on the front line, but even so.
Righteous Glory available as a backup Predator in this case. ADD's going for a walk, pushing up the lanes. As ADD, you don't really want to be spending time in the side lane against Mundo at this point in the game because trading farm you lose. Ornn getting items is way worse than Mundo getting items at this point in the game. And MVP start up the Baron, that's what you want to do. They have the vision, but there's going to be plenty of information to the side of BBQ. No smite on Ignar, he's gone to Barrier as AD is in the back line.
Okay, no way to block it here. The double knockup comes in. Ghost, though, is not going to be knocked up. There's a huge amount of damage on ADD, and the stun comes onto Ian, in fact, into the back line. Still a lot of damage there to Ignar and Trick. They're going to have to run away, but Stoneplate Mundo, level 17, is never going to die. And the only person who died there was ADD.
ADD went for the big flank, thought he was in position to do things, but he ended up taking free damage from 2-3 members and goes down. Not the execution you're looking for from the side of MVP, and that's why the lingering doubt never goes away when it's 9th versus 10th from the LCK.
That's definitely one way to put it. You still got Ornn down now for about 20 seconds, and they have so much Baron damage with Azir and Ashe at this point in the game. They're just going to go ahead and do it.
They can also ult the Skarner when he comes into contest. Speaking of Skarner, here he is. Awkward time for visual lag.
Okay. Observer also taken aback by that one.
50-50.
Are they going to hold this one? No, they're not, and actually it goes to the Max, who comes in and smites it. Oh boy, and now the Death Ray getting into the back line. Ian gonna take out Ignar for a second time. How about a double kill? MVP fans are ecstatic, and the shenanigans continue.
Shenanigans confirmed, Valdez. I believe 2 smites were used. The smite range was bigger there. Ignar dies, wasn't able to use his smite. Let's understand this. Unfortunately, the overlay doesn't confirm what summoner was. I saw cleanse instead of the heal, so I assume he swapped his flash out at MVP. We're going way back when to ADD's flank. Unfortunately, when you flank before your team's in position, you flank yourself. In the picture-in-picture, we get the more important information, and that's the bases being ravaged by MVP. Game won't end on this push, but it goes down. Here's an Ash Arrow. It interrupts the Abyssal Voyage, which is pretty cool, but no more.
Yes, no more, unfortunately. Ghost still struggling to get some effective Ash Arrows in this game. They're just going to go ahead and take a third Cloud Drake. How about that? Predator, Righteous Glory, and triple Cloud Drake to the side of Yondu. Going to have a lot of fun with that, Skarner.
So let's see if this was a double side. It might have been something more innocuous, so I'm not 100% clear.
Let's get the slowdown here.
They go for the 50-50. Did he cue it? I think he might have cued it. You're dumbfounded, aren't you? How did he?
I don't know. Maybe
how do you
did.
bend your tongue?
Wait, can we get the replay?
Does anyone know if he
English
cued it to
Pastors
death?
missed it over here.
I think he ate it. He licked it to death, I think.
Wow.
Licking the Baron.
Sounds like a pretty nice death, but you know.
Licking the Baron sounds like something you shouldn't do. Like, you know, when it comes to like mushrooms in the wild and stuff
don't
like that.
Don't lick the Baron.
Maybe licking the Baron doesn't seem like it'd be a good
Everybody
thing.
knows you don't lick the Baron. Take a look at the damage in that quote-unquote fight at the end of it. It was 6,000 to the side of Elkaz, who's going to be unbelievably far ahead in the damage charts.
I think he licked the Baron to death.
Never supposed to lick the Baron, but I suppose if it wins you the game.
I've never seen it before. Maybe this is the next level we know from the LCK.
It's a dangerous thing, but if that's what you're relying on to get you the Baron, well, I wouldn't recommend it. The Baron is here anyway on the side of MVP for a minute more, and they do have the Ornn. Let's see how aggressive they get with the push.
They see the Unbreakable. The Ornn ult will come out instantly. Ignar will do well to hold on to it. Easier said than done.
Oh, Ghost gets chunked on the backside by the second half of the queue.
Crazy taking free damage, but he, of course, has the full health instant recharge that Mundo is always about. MVP, ARAM, not the best against Ashe Azir, and Mundo who can disregard damage. Let's see if they throw out an ultimate. We're waiting for one.
They're doing a nice job of just chipping it away as nobody's stopping Pilot here. He does have a Tom Kent right behind him. How about the knock-up into the Impale? See you later, Crazy. As Ian is just going to get that full charged ray straight into the front of that Mundo. Take him out through all of that health. I don't even think he got a chance to use his Stone Plate.
He didn't use the ultimate either. He had no friends with him, and 5v1 at 36 minutes goes down. Ash Arrow does hit again. Accuracy been good, we have to say, from Ghost.
You know, he's hitting people. That's definitely a step up from the beginning of the game. Well, they're going to go ahead and chunk out these turrets.
Oh!
Pilot's not done here, though. He wants to style a little bit on the backside. Unbreakable going in. Ghost trying to do his own styling. Not going to quite have the same effect, as we do have, I think, 6 kills now for the Vel'Koz. And that's going to do it, guys. Kind of what we expected. Game 1 will go to MVP.
Definitely a touch of the Fiesta, but a touch of also of the old MVP flair. They were the better team over the course of this game, and yet the Baron goes a more sensible way. BBQ claim it, and they would end up winning game 1, you would imagine, or at least forcing it into a much later stage. The licking of the Baron was in fact the deadliest coming through. This Tom Kench was not benched, and thus he made the most crucial intervention of the game. The best of 5, which could go all 5 games, judging on game number 1, starts with MVP victory, and BBQ Olivers will need to fight back. Otherwise, the match points will start stacking up quickly.
Disarray here in the BBQ booth, as nothing quite went right for them in game number 1. Had a couple of moments where MVP made a couple of mistakes and they were able to capitalize, but nothing big enough to get them back into the game. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board here. You can notice how the in-depth discussion also happening on the side of the winning team, MVP, Yondu, Ian, and the coach. In deep discussion over what happened in this one.
Definitely not one to stand up and cheer about, and definitely not now, game 1 of a best of 5. Seems like some resigned faces on the side of BBQ, but no one is crying yet. There are no need for tears after game number 1. BBQ had some moments, maybe want to make some adjustments in the draft. Like the way they started, but I think the Mundo, you understand why. The spot is not the worst, but it didn't work out in the end.
Yeah, it didn't quite. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into a break. When we come back, game number 2 of MVP versus BBQ. Stay tuned.